What's going on? It's your boy David Boom, the international party boy, and I'm here in Dallas, Texas, where I've teamed up with NASDAQ to talk about ending the HIV epidemic, also known as EHE. Most importantly, what we're going to talk about is how your local health department can work effectively in the club community. Now, everybody knows that I'm no health expert, but the good news is I do have Dwayne Williams here, who is the health guru, and he's going to tell us all of the ins and outs about EHE. Let's go get Dwayne.
Hi, David.
All right, look at that Area 111 in the daytime.
I've never seen it like this. I'm almost nervous.
Just a little bit, right?
Right.
So, we're here at Area 111, and thank you again for, joining me for this.
Of course.
I think this is super duper cool. So, for people that don't know, of course, we have to let them know that, of course, me and you used to date.
Yes, many moons ago.
Yes,
You were much older than I.
Yeah. Oh, wow. This was like, what, 1965? When this was, we were officially a couple. But the best thing about that is that we're still friends.
Yeah.
Very, very close friends. And I'm so happy that you're here in Dallas.
Yes, I am.
So, tell everybody what you do.
Yeah, so essentially I like to say that my work sits at the intersection of grant making and philanthropy. And so my job is to design funding models and also to disseminate funds on behalf of private donors and specifically to organizations across the states who are looking to do work to end the epidemic. And so not only that, but it's also just making sure that the funds and the resources are allocated or given to communities that are looking to do the work, but that they're equipped and they are continuing to receive like training and support around it.
That's awesome. It sounds like a lot, but it actually is a lot, which makes it a bigger deal. But how do you think that what you do and your efforts and what you do have an effect on the Black community?
Yeah, so actually all of my work has been rooted specifically, well, I would say about 9 out of the 11 to 12 years has been specifically towards African-American communities and communities of color, but more specifically Black, gay, same-gender loving, bisexual, and queer men. And so when we look at where the epidemic most resides, or who leads, we often look at MSM, or that's what we refer to in the field as men who have sex with men. But we look at it as gay, bisexual, queer, same-gender loving. And I like to say that I am the perfect balance between party and work. Essentially, I work where I play, And so I feel like I have a unique seat in the fact that I get a chance to really observe like what's working, what's not working. What are organizations, what are health departments doing? What are they not doing? How are they reaching? Am I seeing them when I come to Area 111? You know what I mean? And then if I do see them, how am I seeing them? Like, am I impacted positively? Am I impacted negatively? But I'm a Black gay man, and so essentially, I know essentially what I like, right? And I believe that I have a good observation of what our community does and does not like, and what does and does not work.
Yeah, definitely. So being that you are a Southern Belle yourself.
Yes, the Southern Belle.
The overall Southern Belle. Being that, you also did New York, but, Atlanta, and then also, Texas in general, Dallas and Houston. How do you feel the ending the epidemic is having an effect on the South?
So here in the South, we still lead in terms of new diagnosis. I believe we're at 52% now, and we tend to teeter around there, or sometimes we go up, but the South still leads. When you look at things like how conservative the South is versus how progressive some of the other areas are, it's not just in fashion and things of that nature. It goes down to even to your visits at your clinic, right? Things of that nature. And so what I do observe is that there is what I like to consider, and what I've always delved into in my work, is non-traditional programming happening in other places, right? Where you look at how to provide an experience in order to educate. I think there's some confusion sometimes that, like, because you are exposed, that means that you are educated. And that's not true. And just because you are educated does not mean that you have the experience. And so I think that one of the differences that I see is this sort of meaningful involvement of people who are most impacted, right? Your blood work goes in, but you immediately go into treatment that day. It's called rapid treatment, And so it's those sort of adjustments that are made to ensure that we don't lose people, and that people are enveloped in taken care, but also that people don't take the chance and possibly, hurt themselves or anything of that nature.
Right.
Your physician should always be the first person to call you. They should be alerted before you're alerted to something.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it's just those sort of like trends that that are continued that they've adopted in other places that I don't really see here in the South a lot.
So I kind of see that you're touching on a subject that kind of deals with stigma. So elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially here in the South, there are still very traumatizing and stigmatizing scenarios. I just explained one, right? And I think that one of the things that we could do to combat that is hold institutions and providers accountable for what they do and do not do. For example, you'd be surprised that Black women can go in and talk about pregnancy and and things of that nature with their OBGYN, but they don't talk about PrEP,
Right.
If you ask a lot of Black women, do they know what PrEP is? They say no. Do they know what PEP is? They say no. And these are important because if you've been assaulted, you should know that I have a 72-hour window to like go and get PEP, right? But if I want to be proactive, or if I maybe am a sex worker, I may want to consider PrEP. But there's still a good deal of women who do not know about PrEP.
Right.
Why is it important for Black women to know about PrEP? Because Black women sleep with Black men, and Black men also sleep with Black men, right? And so I think that part of it is that we're not holding our providers accountable enough to continue their education, to make sure that they challenge themselves to continue learning, to offer these treatments, to keep up with the trends, to talk about what's going on, to talk about U equals U, to talk about strides that are made, to be very explicit with their clients, and so, because they're physicians, because they're doctors and they're medical providers, or because of your community-based organizations, this is who you lean to, if you don't have the education, or if you don't have the exposure, or if you don't have the experience. And so it often starts there. So I think that, and especially being a funder, one of the things that's important to me is holding organizations accountable for how they're disseminating this information and making sure that they stay relevant to the information and also to their community. Right. So, keeping up, and that's not hard. You shouldn't just send an email out to your staff and say, we recommend you take a look at this video.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that does nothing, especially to someone who's been practicing medicine for 20 years. It's like, I know everything because I went to school 20 years ago for 20 years. I know everything, and so much has changed. And I think that that providers have gotten sort of lazy and complacent with where they are, and not realizing the damage that it does to community. For example, the gentleman that I went to go see could have very well offered me some additional resources.
Right.
But he won't offer those resources if he don't even know what the resources are, where they exist, And so what are we doing to hold them accountable?
And I think the biggest question that I have, somebody that's like, again, like on the outside, doesn't have as much knowledge on the epidemic in general and just ending the epidemic. What do you think that on our part we can do better or do more as far as the community to help end the epidemic?
One of the since this thing started, the greatest tool that we've always had has been our voice, and I think that because we have made strides such as like U equals U, which is undetectable equals untransmittable, because we have and we have PrEP and we have PEP and things of that nature, we have sort of softened our voice,
right.
We've gotten a bit, kind of comfortable. And I think that if anything, I would challenge my friends, our communities, to continue to use your voice, to say where things, when you have an uncomfortable experience, then where did you have that uncomfortable experience at? I just had an uncomfortable experience here visiting a physician for the first time here in Dallas, right? He sat down, he didn't really greet me. It was not compassionate care. He sat down at his computer and he just read questions, and that was that. He didn't know my background or know that I had, experience in this field and things of that nature. And I said, well, I don't want to get anybody in trouble or anything like that. And so I really had to be, I really had to calculate how I wanted to approach it. And I said, nope, the only way that things get done is if you raise it, or if you use your voice and you say what you felt uncomfortable. This made me feel uncomfortable. And if I were impressionable, I probably wouldn't be returning back to care, Wow. So, our voice matters. Our voices matter. I love to see storytelling efforts. A lot of places are doing storytelling, which really just underscores and pronounces the experience of folks living with HIV and things of that nature. But what about the people that are not living with HIV, who say, I don't want to take PrEP, who say, I don't want to take PEP? why are we not like listening to these voices, or not why are we not like using our voices and sharing our stories? So I think the greatest thing we have is our word. And so I would say, let's start talking, let's start talking.
And this is a great way to start.
Yes.
As much as I love to be in Area 111 in the daytime, I would like to enjoy my Sunday fun day.
Oh, where are we going?
Wherever they have drinks. Bottomless mimosas.
Now.
We're on our way. Let's get out of here.
All right, come on, let's go.